right? Um, Motor vehicle accidents are a big deal because we think if they're a low speed, that we're okay. And the truth is, 5 miles an hour is enough to tear loose connective tissue, that holds your spine together. 5 miles an hour. And people don't realize that. And then there's 14 days before that scar tissue becomes permanently embedded in the spine. That's scary stuff, because if that's not addressed, there's going to be trouble later. It can show up as headaches. It can show up as depression, anxiety,
Insomnia.
yeah, lots of different things. We have a resource for people, and so stick around for that. If you text the letters MVA, motor vehicle accident, to this number, 734-274-5107. I don't know. It might be too late. Our system might not send it out after 9 p.m. But if you text MVA for motor vehicle accident to 734-274-5107, we will send you a PDF, the first 5 things you should do after a car accident. Our show tonight is extra special because we're grateful to Life 360. They are, so when Noah was in his accident, Life 360 is who contacted us. So we can't recommend them enough, and we've got some stuff we'll talk about for that. But if you have questions, our number is 866-521-WELL, 866-521-9355. We're taking your calls live tonight. And for those of you joining us on social, thank you very much. We'll be looking for your comments, and we'll answer those as well. So we're excited. We have lots going on. It's going to be a great show. Buckle up. You're going to love it. We'll be back right after this.
Do you constantly live with pain? Does getting out of bed seemingly take all of your energy? Searching for solutions for your condition.
Sorry, a little early.
Now at 866-521-WELL or at yourweeklycheckup.com.
Welcome back to your weekly checkup. We're talking tonight about motor vehicle accidents. We're talking about the 5 things you can do, 5 things you should do if
right
you're
after
in a motor vehicle accident. So we're going to be sharing those with you tonight. Let's see. All right. So Jaden, have you ever been in a car accident?
Once.
Uh-huh.
And a deer ran into me.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I did not hit it. It jumped into the side of my car.
Let's see if I've got the drums. I don't know if I have the drums or not. Never mind. It's all right.
Yeah, I was driving.
How was that?
That was good.
Okay, cool.
I was driving and out of nowhere it just jumped into my passenger door and broke my mirror off the car and busted up the window. And then it ran away. But I hit my head on the steering wheel.
Yeah,
On, like right here.
that was scary.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened as a result of that?
I had a headache right away. And I got adjusted from you once you were after x-rays that you knew that there were no breaks in my neck or anything like that. So I just got adjusted, which is just very gentle pressure on your neck, the base of your neck, and my headache went away within an hour. It was sore a little bit just from hitting my head, but
From the stress.
but I didn't have a concussion or anything like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's scary when that happens. I've been in a few accidents. I was hit by a drunk driver as a kid. I mean, I was in a car. My body wasn't hit, but it was a scary situation, man, for sure. And yeah, not a fan. It was a big deal. All right, so we are going to talk about the 5 things, and our number is 866-521-WELL, 866-521-9355. All right, so the very first thing to do is make sure you're safe. I'm not being silly when I say that. Like, you have to ensure safety, and you got to make sure that if you need to get to a safe place and you can, that's important. Calling emergency services is super important. And here's the deal, Jane, we tell people this all the time. And people will say, well, I felt fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
I felt fine. But what is the case? What do we tell them even if they feel fine?
Yes, we always say that even if you feel fine, that it's crucial to have a medical professional check for obvious or hidden injuries like a concussion or even internal bleeding.
If you have the Life 360 app and you have the gold plan or higher, authorities will be notified on your behalf and your emergency contacts. That's super helpful because if you're not able to make a call,
That's what happened with Noah. He didn't make any calls. That Life 360 alerted the authorities immediately, and he said within seconds the fire trucks, ambulance, and officers were there.
that's crazy. Also, so once you make sure things are safe and you're checked for things, reporting the accident is important. Again, contacting the police, they'll file an accident report. You've got to have that documentation for your insurance. It also will help you if you pursue any claims later. A lot of times people think they're okay, but when there's a lot of adrenaline in your system, you're not gonna feel all the stuff until later. So a lot of times people think they're okay and then find out later, oh gosh, I'm not nearly as okay as I thought I would be.
A bone break, for example, can take up to 2 weeks to show up, depending on the size of it. And so that's just one thing that can take.
Yeah,
a little bit to show
if
up.
it's a tiny fracture, a minute fracture or something like that, it wouldn't. If it's a big one, like from a car accident like this, you would.
Probably, most likely, you would see it, but it is possible.
Again, the Life 360 Gold plan, if you have that plan or above, it'll contact authorities automatically for you. If you're listening in Michigan, we are super, super grateful. Our insurance agent, Steve Hale, we personally use him for home and auto insurance. This is a shameless plug. He has not asked us to say anything, but his service is just so incredible. Like, he has moved mountains for us. And in this situation where, you know, our son was in an accident that authorities said, you know, they're surprised he even survived the accident, to have somebody in your corner that is supporting you and helping you the way, like, beyond what you would expect. That's what Steve has been doing for us. So check him out, Steve Hale. If you're in Southeast Michigan, that guy has moved mountains for us. So Steve, if you're listening, thank you for your help with that. If you're just tuning in, this is your weekly checkup. Our number is 866-521-WELL, 866-521-9355. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back right after this. Welcome back to your weekly checkup. I'm Dr. Lazar. We are joining you live talking about motor vehicle accidents. The first two things you've got to do, you have to ensure you're safe and seek medical attention. Make sure somebody is checking you either right then or the paramedics or in the hospital or whatever it is you need. Even if you think you're okay, make sure that you are getting that addressed. Also, reporting the accident to authorities. That's a big deal. That's super important, and got to make sure that that's done. Now, it's extremely important that you get x-rays and a detailed assessment by an upper cervical chiropractor. Here's why. Whiplash and other spinal injuries may not show immediate symptoms, but they can lead to long-term complications if they're ignored. So x-rays are critical for revealing these hidden injuries. An upper cervical specialist chiropractor can specifically identify whiplash and other alignment issues that standard medical assessments would miss. Hospitals will look for things like fractures and bleeding, but not small misalignments in the upper neck that can lead to migraines, insomnia, fibromyalgia, depression, brain fog, high blood pressure, lots of other things. Also, like I mentioned before, scar tissue from an accident as slow as 5 miles an hour can become permanently embedded in your spine after 14 days. So it's critical to have your upper neck checked within 14 days of an accident. Missing out on that will be giving you all kinds of trouble later. So super, super important. The reason that's step number 3 is because you've got to get checked by an EMT paramedic or similar, or in the hospital. Also, you have to report the accident. The very next thing you should do is get x-rays and an assessment for the upper neck. It is such a vital area, and it's so overlooked. It's missed all the time. And, you know, Jaden, we see all the time people that come in and thought everything was fine, and, you know, years later, symptoms showed up with a vengeance. And, you know, you see that all the time, and it's, you know, we wish we could tell everybody, right? Well, I guess that's what we're doing, right?
Yes. And then the fourth thing that we suggest that you should do after a motor vehicle accident, we say document everything. Make sure you document your injuries, any medical visits, symptoms, anything like that after the accident. Have pictures, anything visible like injuries, car damage, medical records, x-rays, all of it. Keep track of it.
Yeah, for sure. There, people will have things show up so much later, and get a good personal injury attorney if you need, and don't settle. My gosh, the number of times people settle quickly and then symptoms show up later and they can't get coverage for that. Like, just be really, really careful. We don't give legal advice, but from our perspective, we've seen a lot of this where people will settle early and then things will show up later and they can't get the help they need. So that's important, and that allows you to seek appropriate follow-up care. Even after initial treatment of any kind, follow-up is really essential. Upper cervical chiropractic can help ensure that any of these misalignments that were caused by the accident are corrected before they lead to chronic issues, again, like migraines, back pain, other neurological problems. We see a huge connection with head and neck injuries, like in car accidents, and then later things showing up like multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's. We've done shows on those, but head and neck injuries are a really, really big deal from that. And so, having that checked is really important, and you have to act fast for long-term health. We'll think, hey, it's okay, but you don't want to wait till it's too late. Whiplash and spinal injuries will cause long-term damage, and if it's not addressed properly, you're just asking for trouble. So make sure that within 14 days of an injury like that, you are getting checked.
All right, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back right after this.
Your weekly checkup. Dr. Lazar here. Jaden is in the studio with us, and we just had we've got a guest that's going to be sharing a really, really cool, powerful story, and we're excited about that because it's super helpful. All right, so let's bring Noah on. Noah, welcome to your weekly checkup.
Thank you.
So you recently were you had some scary stuff happen. Why don't you share that with us?
Okay, yeah. So I was driving after youth group to meet friends for ice cream, and I was driving eastbound on North Territorial Road.
Mm-hmm. In Plymouth.
Yep. And I was driving, and this guy swerved out in front of me, and never hitting his brakes or anything. He just kept speeding up. So I hit my brakes. I slammed on the horn, and then he hit me head on.
How fast were you going?
The speed limit was 45, so I'm gonna say 45.
Okay. And then, but you slammed on the brakes.
Yes.
So, all right. And any idea how fast he was going?
No, he kept speeding up.
Okay. So what are you you're driving down the road, you just left church, you're on your way to ice cream with friends, and it's dark out?
Yes, dark and rainy.
Okay. And so what's going through your head when this is happening?
I'm thinking, is this guy gonna turn? Because there's a road that I passed, and then I thought, well, no, he can't turn. So I thought maybe he's passing a guy, but then I thought it's a double yellow. He can't do that. So then he just kept getting closer. So I slammed on the brakes, hit the horn, and basically just prayed. Hopefully nothing bad happened.
Wow. And then what happened?
Then, funny story. I got out of the car after he hit me, and I said, "What are you doing, man?" Kind of thinking like, why would he hit me? And he said he thought there was an animal in the road, and to sit down that police and paramedics are gonna be here soon. And then you guys called me. A bunch of different people were calling me, trying to figure out what's going on. So my mental state was pretty messed up.
And then how long until help arrived?
Like less than 10 minutes. I mean, they were there super fast.
That was the fire department or
I think it was the fire department ambulance.
Okay. And then, so you're in pain at this point? Tell us what you
Yes.
were feeling.
I'm feeling a lot of pain in my left arm, and I'm feeling like up by my left side of the collarbone. I felt something. Yeah, and it turned out I have a broken ulna in my left arm.
Okay.
And seatbelt burn on my left collarbone.
So you go to the hospital, right?
Yes.
Did you go in an ambulance?
Yes, I went in the ambulance that showed up on scene.
Okay. And they do all the checking and they find the broken bone. It's miraculous that's all that happened. And then the
Yes.
police officer came in.
Yep.
That surprised me. What surprised me was the police officer said, "Praise the Lord," or "Thank the Lord this kid's alive." And I was surprised he said "Thank the Lord," actually. But
Yeah.
anyway, and then I thought, wow, it must have been, for somebody to have a broken arm, I wasn't thinking it was horrible. I mean, I knew it was an accident. I knew that you were shaken up. I knew your arm was broken, which I was super bummed about. But it wasn't until the next day that we went and got the stuff out of your car. I'll post pictures of this. I have on my personal stuff, but not on this page. Unbelievable. I could not believe you survived that after I saw the picture. After I saw your car, I could not believe that you survived that. That was insane.
Yeah, for sure. Like I thought for sure. I was like, oh, I got lucky, because it was my first car accident with me driving, so I thought I just got lucky. Usually people with that just get hit, like broken arm, bruise, but like you said, like the police and then the like paramedics and nurse, everyone to say like that. I mean, that should have killed you. That just kind of hit me like, wow, like he's definitely looking out for me.
Absolutely. He's got a plan. He's not done. He's not done with you, obviously. So where are things now? I mean, are you all healed up? What are you doing for help, for care?
So I went to the doctor's the other day and I got my hard cast on. I got
Okay.
it blue for the lines, of course.
All right.
And yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to do as much as I can, but not overdo it.
Mm-hmm.
And just trying to get with the new normal.
Now, I don't know if you were listening to the show earlier, but you were in an accident on Sunday.
Yes.
On Monday, what did your appointments consist of?
My appointments. I don't remember that much. That's probably because I was on pain meds. So
Oh, sure.
I couldn't really.
So the point I was getting to, I was trying to not solicit the answer, but you came into the office for a whole new set of X-rays, right?
Correct.
And we tell people that it's important to get X-rays right after an accident, and I just want to point out that that's exactly what you did. You've had X-rays before. You've been under care for your whole life, but after an accident like that, we've got to look at it again. And your X-rays showed that things were really, really, really far out of alignment. Obviously, because that was a combined speed of 100 miles an hour or so between you and the other guy. And so for us to check that, and then we also have been lasering your arm, right, to help that heal faster. So you're doing all the right stuff, man. We're super grateful that you're with us, man. It's a horrible thought to think of anything other than that. Any final words, anything you want people listening to know or hear that maybe need help or encouragement, before you say that too, within a couple days of the accident, some friends of ours posted on their social media that a kid was in a head-on collision and is in critical condition and has had 4 or 5 surgeries, and it's just unreal how fragile life is. What would you like to share as you close out your story about your accident?
I would like to share that for everyone who's listening, definitely dig into your Bibles and really focus on God, and instead of listening to other music, listen to worship music. Because the night I was in the car, I was just gonna listen to my regular playlist, and I decided, you know what, I'll listen to my worship playlist. So I listened to that, and I'm just so grateful that God's looking out.
What song were you you had mentioned the song that was playing when you got hit. Do you remember what that was? I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, so the song that I was listening to was Jireh by Elevation Worship, and the next song was There Was Jesus, and then Rescue Story.
Those are really powerful. And you had talked to me about kind of a vision you had right before you got hit. Do you remember talking to me about that?
I think so.
You had mentioned to me that you saw a vision like you would see something in a dream.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I remembered, if I remember correctly, it was like angels just kind of came down and just kind of went around me.
You mentioned to me that you felt like you saw this white cushion or something.
Yeah.
Wrapping around your head. And somebody in the hospital had commented that, those airbags open really quickly, but you corrected him. You said, no, it was before I got hit. And then when we looked at the car, actually there was the airbag in front of you and the airbag to your left, where the driver's window is.
Yeah.
But there wasn't anything that would have wrapped around your head. And, we know God's alive and serving and saving and healing and protecting. And so we may not be able to explain what it was in the natural, but that's why we serve a God who loves us and does things supernaturally,
Mm-hmm.
So
for sure.
That's awesome, man. Well, thank you for sharing, and thanks for being on. And that's brave of you to share your story to encourage other people. So thank you for doing that. And I know a lot of other people were encouraged.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Of course. If you're just tuning in, this is your weekly checkup. Our number is 866-521-WELL, 866-521-9355. We just heard Noah's story. We're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this. Checkup. That was a great story that Noah shared. That was very powerful. And I there are pictures on
Your Weekly Checkup on Instagram.
Very cool. So make sure you check those out. That's
You can see the front of his car. What's left of it is like completely like smushed, like gone, squished flat almost.
wow.
It's crazy.
The yeah, that's crazy. So we had I've been in a couple accidents. When I was little, I went to church with my grandparents and that on a Sunday night, and they dropped my cousins off, and then my sister and I were in the back seat. I was 7 or so, and we stopped at a red light, and I crawled into the front seat to sit with my grandparents because I didn't want to sit in the back. And then we stopped at the next red light, and my sister crawled in the front because she didn't want to be in the back seat alone. So I'm sitting on my grandma's lap, and my sister's sitting in the middle, you know, those old cars in the 80s where you could sit, you know, bench seats in the front. Then we get to the next red light, and as soon as we get there, it just sounded like this freight train. We were hit from behind, but you know, I didn't know what had happened. It just was loud. And my grandpa was driving, and I didn't see, I mean, I saw him go forward, and then he was knocked out, but I didn't know that. I didn't know if he was dead or what. It was so scary. But his head hit the horn, and then the horn stayed honking, and so it was loud, and there's glass everywhere, and the horn's honking, and my grandpa's not responding. And then the paramedics came and, you know, got us out of the car, and we were checked. Well, a drunk driver hit us from behind, and so my grandpa ended up being okay. When we looked in the back seat, though, the seat had folded down and like flipped around, and had we been back there, they were saying, you know, we wouldn't have survived that. So that was a blessing that we got in the front. And I remember going home that night and my parents vacuuming glass out of my hair. They got the vacuum out with the little handle, the hose, and were vacuuming glass out of my hair. And I had like some cuts a little bit, but it was scary, and I thought it was really cool, which is weird, I guess, as a little kid. What's interesting is within 5 years of that accident, my grandpa died of a heart attack. And I've always wondered, not always, but since I started learning about the connection between the upper neck and the heart, I've wondered, I wonder if that's why he died. He was pretty. I mean, he was in his 70s. You know, like he didn't need to. I mean, it wasn't like he was old or anything. And so I've thought about that a lot. And then my wife and I don't know if we were married yet or just engaged, but we were driving home from college. We went to college in Springfield, Missouri, Evangel University, and we were driving back to Michigan to surprise my mom for Christmas. We were going to surprise my mom for her birthday, though, which was on December 18th. So we did Wednesday night church, and then we drove all night, and it was 3 or so in the morning. We were on I-70 in Indiana. And I also had worship music just blasting because I was tired, and I had the windows down, and, you know, it was cold, but it was keeping me awake. And then I just saw a deer in front of me in the road. Like, I didn't see it ahead of time. It just, you know, with the snow and the darkness and stuff, I didn't see it until I was like right on it. So I slammed on my brakes, and I remember spinning out, and then we skidded off the road. Well, you know, it was, I mean, just before that and right after were like cliffs. It was amazing that we were able to just slide off the road right there. The police came, and they were really frantically running toward the car, and I was trying to explain to them I was the driver and whatever. Well, they had gotten 3 reports from semi-truck drivers that our car had flipped in the air. And I don't remember it flipping. I remember feeling like I was spinning around and things, but when we went back and looked, there were 3 things that suggested that may have been the case. Well, 4, because truck drivers are professional drivers. And so they, they know what they're looking at. Mm-hmm. And, but the 3 things we noticed were a big crater, like big mark in the side of the road, where it looked like something really heavy landed, and right where that was, which would have been our tires, landing. So we flipped apparently and landed tires down. The second thing was we saw coffee on the ceiling of the car. And then we had some luggage and Christmas gifts in the back, and we had the luggage on the bottom and the Christmas gifts on top. And after we had gotten the car towed, the Christmas gifts were on the bottom and the luggage was on the top. So I don't know if that happened from spinning or flipping or whatever, but here's the thing. We don't have to explain it. I mean, we could have died. We didn't. And so, I mean, this was supposed to be about accidents and getting things checked, and it still is, but it's turning into like all these miracles that have happened, which is, I mean, it's not a bad thing to talk about.
I think as I was listening to these stories, which I know all of these stories, but you learn something different every time you hear a story. It's like rereading something. You learn something different every single time you hear or read something. And what I'm putting together from these 3 stories is that you were listening to worship music, for sure the last 2. I don't remember if you were with your grandparents. And then you also were leaving church. Noah was leaving church, and you were leaving church.
Oh, my word. All 3 of them.
Yeah.
All 3 of those, we're
leaving church.
Left church, yeah. Interesting.
I don't know if that means anything. But
I mean, I never noticed that connection, but who knows? That's really interesting. Wow, that's powerful. Well, we're talking about accidents, and if you have questions, comments, concerns, we'd love to answer those for you live on the air. Our number is 866-521-WELL, 866-521-9355. We're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this. welcome back to your weekly checkup. I'm Dr. Lazard. Jaden's in the studio.
Thank you for having me. This is a fun, I was going to say episode, but I don't know if this is an episode.
It is an episode. Every show is an episode. But you're into like morbid stuff. You watch murder mysteries and things. So
I do. I like them to show me what actually happened, like live, not like the reenactments. Those aren't as fun. But I don't like clowns. I don't watch the fake stuff, just the real stuff.
Yeah, well, that's goofy. All right, so you accidents don't have to be motor vehicle accidents. What's the craziest accident you've seen? Have you ever witnessed an accident or come up on one shortly after?
I think the only accident, well, the craziest accident I've seen, I was a server and there was this man running across our parking lot, and so I ran outside to see what was happening, and there was a car that drove up on a curb with nobody in it and a lady on the ground, and the guy was running towards her, and I ran out to her and was like making sure she was okay, and her pulse was like super fast, and then she had a history of heart attacks. And what actually ended up happening was that she fell out of the car while she was driving because she had a heart attack, and she ran over herself. But the car kept driving. That they were picking up a DoorDash order, and I remember they set the food on the curb, and then the lady who ordered the food was mad that she didn't get it.
So, I mean, how did she get the car door open?
I don't really know. That's all I know from like the cameras and like what the police ended up saying. But that was the story that was given. But yeah, like her tires like ripped up her jeans, and she was like had like her jeans like rubbed into her legs.
Well, I bet you she wasn't just leaving church. I mean, what are the chances? It's not fun. I don't know why I just said it, but it's, my gosh, like, it's not like she, what are the chances of having a heart attack, getting in a car accident, and then running yourself over with your own car? I don't even get that.
I don't even really know how it happened. It just, I mean, it kind of makes sense, but it also doesn't make sense at all.
I knew you were going to go non-committal on that. Kind of makes sense, kind of doesn't. So was that the only time you kind of assisted in that one, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, I've seen a car accident where I was on Ann Arbor Saline Road, and I was getting off the highway onto Ann Arbor Saline Road, and a car was turning off the highway as someone was still going straight. So the car turned on red, and they just got like hit on the driver's side from a car who was like the cross traffic. I saw that, but
that sounds scary. Car accidents are pretty common. About 6 million car accidents a year in the United States.
that's a lot.
That is a lot. That's over 16,000 a day. That's goofy. Okay, Miss Morbid, you want to talk about fatalities with car accidents?
Yes, I do. Okay, so in 2022, there were over 42,000 motor vehicle fatalities in the U.S. alone. And according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, well, that's what they said. There were over 42,000. And then this represents a significant concern as traffic fatalities increased by 10% compared to the year before.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Marijuana was legalized.
Hmm.
Do we know when
What year?
marijuana was legalized?
I'm feeling like it was while Gretchen was governor. It's pretty recent, I think.
Let's see. Some of them,
Because I know you had to vote for it
yeah.
just
So
recently.
in 1996, California did.
That's medical. But what about
Oh, recreational
Yeah.
use.
mhm.
Let's see.
23, November of 2023.
Well, 24 states. 24 states were as of November 23.
Look up I'm thinking it was 20. It was after COVID.
that. Yeah, it was that was my point. Is it seemed like it was around the same time frame. 4.4 million people a year are seriously injured in car crashes, and it can be. I mean, an injury can be minor. It can be life threatening. The big thing is traumatic brain injuries, spinal cord injuries, fractures. People think that if they didn't get a concussion, this is the thing that's goofy. So if you're in an accident and it's bad enough that you think you may have been concussed, and then you get evaluated and find out you weren't concussed, that doesn't mean everything's okay, because there was enough force for you to be concerned about a concussion. What do you think that force does to your brainstem? And so that's why you have to have your brainstem evaluated, and they don't do that in the hospital. Another big thing I know for accidents is distracted driving. The stats say that contributes to about 8% of crashes. Honest to God, I feel like it's got to be higher than that. I feel like people underreport that or something.
It's a big enough issue for specifically the state of Michigan recently made it illegal to touch your phone at all while you're driving.
I think
And
that's
so
great. Yeah.
I agree with that. I think that's smart. I think that should not have had to even be made a law. To me, that's common sense. But in order for them to have to make a law about that, the numbers probably were through the roof if they were seeing that enough, I would think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's a big deal. Speed is a big deal. I mean, 29% of traffic fatalities involve speeding. So that's something that's controllable. Distracted driving is controllable. Drunk driving accounts for about 30% of fatal crashes. So about 30% involve speeding, about 30% involve drunk driving.
We don't even have a percentage on like under the influence period. Like with, if you're drinking, then you're under the influence, or any drugs, you're under the influence.
True. Yeah.
Like cigarettes, vaping, marijuana, all of it.
Pain medicine, narcotics. Yeah, all the things.
All of that. And most of the time, you're not supposed to, but people are doing those together.
I can't believe how many people get out of a car and walk into an establishment and smell like weed.
Yes.
Like,
when I was a server, the amount of times that like you would see people sitting in their cars like smoking, and then they'd come in smelling like weed, and you could tell that's what they were just smoking. They'd sit there eat for an hour and then leave, which is still in your system, so you're under the influence of the marijuana that you were just smoking. And if you got caught driving like that, you would be arrested.
Man, there's an economic impact. I mean, the economic cost of car accidents in the U.S., they estimate to be $870 billion a year.
I'd like to be making that much money.
That's medical expenses, lost productivity, legal costs, court costs, property damage. $870 billion.
How much is that compared to the per second that pharmaceutical companies?
Pharmaceutical companies spend I'm drawing a blank. It's
It's
every
like billions every second.
I think it's $24 million every 10 seconds or something. I'd have to look it up. I don't remember, but yeah, that's a big deal. I mean, pharmaceutical companies last year made trillions of dollars in the teas, trillions. And not one thing they do teaches you how to be any healthier.
And none of it's preventative. And the best thing about chiropractic care that I would say is the best thing is most of it is preventative. So right in the beginning, we're fixing the problems, birth trauma, any injuries, anything like that. But as you are under regular care, it becomes preventative, which makes it so that your body is able to handle the impact of life. And I would say I strongly believe that Noah's body handled the car accident as well as it did because he's been under chiropractic care his entire life. And even with football, I'm not aware of him having any concussions, even with crazy hits to the head,
Well, I mean, that's not going to prevent somebody from having a concussion, but
No, but his body will
it
be
can
able
help
to
you
handle
recover.
it.
Yeah, for sure. That's goofy. So let's see. In direct-to-consumer advertising from pharmaceutical companies, they spend about $7 billion a year
That's crazy.
on advertising. So it works, I mean, people are buying their products.
One day we will be spending $7 billion a year on advertising, I think.
Love that. Love that. Yeah, that's really cool. Accidents are a big deal. As a recap, there are 5 things to do immediately after an accident. Of course, make sure you're safe and seek medical attention right away.
Second would be to report the accident. Make sure you get a police report for insurance purposes.
For sure. Once you're safe, like once the hospital is ruled you don't have a life-threatening condition or a broken neck or anything like that, immediately get x-rays and a detailed assessment by an upper cervical chiropractor. You've got 14 days to do that from the time of the accident before stuff becomes permanent. And keep in mind, symptoms may not show up for 7 to 10 years. That's how sensitive the upper neck is. So make sure you're taking that really seriously. WMUZ listeners get a $224 consultation in our office at no charge. So if you give us a call, 866-521-WELL, through the week, you can reach our Ann Arbor office. You can also find us at yourweeklycheckup.com, and you can get that complimentary consultation. If we think you're a candidate for care, we'll talk about x-rays, nerve scans, and we can address it. But that is absolutely super, super critical to do that within 14 days. In fact, you want the assessment sooner than that, because if it's safe to get adjusted, the assessment isn't going to help prevent anything. The adjustment will. And so you want to make sure you are adjusted within 14 days.
Yes. And then the fourth thing that we say is document everything. Any pictures of injuries, the damage to the car, any medical reports, all of that. And then, Dr. Lazar, what is number 5?
Number 5 is seek appropriate follow-up care. Make sure you're getting the care you need. Don't sign settlements until you know. We recommend the Life 360 app, and we recommend Steve Hale, and we'll do some more stuff on that because we can tell you from experience how helpful it is to have the right people in your corner. Well, it's been a fantastic show. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for joining us live and online on behalf of our team in Ann Arbor and our awesome team at WMUZ. Thanks for joining. We'll look forward to being back with you next week.
God bless.
We done.
This was my favorite show.
Really?
Mm-hmm.